Hello, everybody. Well, if this doesn't make people jealous, then nothing will. This is another hobbyist who's using I'm not 100% sure if he's using a plenum, but I know he's using BCB bags and a sump. Look how beautiful his Mabuna tank is. I mean, this is what we all strive for. I mean, especially people who have Mabunas. And this is absolutely wonderful. He's having great success with it, and he made BCB baskets in his sump. And I noticed that the pictures that you see here are of people using BCB bags or baskets in their sump with great success. And the Mabuna tank he has is just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous looking Mabunas, very crowded. Aquarium. He's been writing me, letting me know what's happening with his aquarium. But this is another success story, period. And it's great to see people are happy, having success, so we don't wind up killing our fish. Okay, and now it's time to get into the video on how to modify your canister filter. Also, I wanted to say that I want to thank those people who made comments about Mr. Krupp's aquarium here after being a year old. Uh, that it absolutely looks beautiful, and he's one of the people that watch my channel. We got talking and everything like that, and I've been helping him out. But I want to thank you very much. He is a dedicated hobbyist. He's one of those kind of hobbyists that if he does something wrong, he'll spend the money to correct it. That's all there is to it. He, like I said, he changed his lighting system because it wasn't right. It didn't look right. It wasn't growing the plants right. Whatever it takes, this guy will do to make sure his aquarium is going good. And that's why it looks so beautiful. Like the other hobbyist I showed with his Mabuna tank. People take pride in their tanks, but they also want to be successful. And I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you very much for the nice comments that you made about his tank. I know the gentleman. I don't know him personally. I mean, I've never even seen him, but I know he takes pride in everything he does. And if there is a problem, he definitely is the hobbyist that will spend the money to correct it. Now, F-Zone gives you different fittings, like this, for example. And this is 5/8. I bought some hose off of Amazon, and let's see. Here it is. And as you can see on the hose, it's 5/8 ID, which means inner diameter. That's 5/8. And it's got a 3/16 OD. So literally this hose can technically fit on this. Okay, they give you the option. Now, you can either fit it on this, or you can go with the hose connectors here and fit it on this, which is, let's see, I'm going to say this same size as this. So you have a 5/8. Look at the difference between this and this. Now let me move this out. I can't. Okay, look at the difference between the hole openings. Big difference between this and this. Now, a lot of people will think, if I have a canister filter and I want to increase the outflow, all I have to do is just put bigger hosing on. Well, that's going to work to a very small extent. In other words, you may not see anything for your outlay of money, because the limiting factor here is, of course, the motor itself. The motor itself is going to be the limiting factor, because this one is designed with the big openings here. This is capable of taking this to relieve the pressure because it's rated at 800. You can't take let's say a 250 gallon pump, put on a bigger diameter, and expect it to put out even more. It's not going to go any faster than 250, but that's at an empty canister. Because this pump is capable of doing a lot more than what it is pumping, I just pull it off of here. Because this is capable of pumping a lot more than what it is pumping, we are going to change the input and output of this to the bigger 5/8 with the 5/8 hosing. This should, now for those over in Europe, this would be a 12 millimeter. Okay, this is 12, and this would be a 16 millimeter. Okay, so everyone could see this would be 16 millimeter, and of course this will be your 12 millimeter. So there's going to be a big difference in both of them. Now when I go to change over, I'm going to be using this. These are the Eheim 16 millimeter quick disconnects by Eheim. And this is what I'm going to change over because this will be able to accommodate the 5/8 hose and help, because the idea of this is almost as big as the other one, but it's a little smaller. But this should help increase the outflow if your pump is capable of doing it. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video, how to do the changeover from this small connection here to the bigger connection. And what a lot of people run into is hooking the hose this up to here. And I'll show you how to do that. But that's what we're going to do in this video. We're literally going to take this and change it over to this, and that should increase the output of this particular pump. And that's another good thing about this. When you buy one of these pumps, filters, and pumps, is that you have the versatility to slow it down for a small tank. And then let's say you upgrade from a 20, 30 gallon, 55 gallon. You have the versatility of changing it over to the same filter without getting rid of it, using it. Just change it over and then have a higher output pump for your 55 gallon and everything else. Now F-Zone gives you everything. Look at this. They give you new O-rings. They give you connections. They give you everything that you would need. They even give you even bigger openings for 1 inch that you can put on if you want to go that route and put 1 inch. So when F-Zone rates this pump here, when they rate the pump at 800 gallons an hour, that's more than likely at 1 inch. That's not with a 5/8. That is not with the 1/2 inch. That is going to be rated at 800 gallons an hour using a totally 1 inch opening, not the smaller opening. So understand that when you buy one of these, that why isn't it pumping 800 gallons an hour like it claims? Well, that's only if you are going to use the 1 inch that they give you and not start cutting it down to smaller and smaller IDs. Okay, so just understand that. Some people have said, oh, it doesn't pump as much as it claimed. Well, yeah, because they're rating this with a 1 inch ID at 800 gallons an hour. As you keep lessening the IDs, you're going to get less and less output. It only makes sense because you're restricting the water flow. So we are going to increase the water flow, and let's get right into that. Okay, the first thing I'm going to have to do here is I remove the intake hose from the canister filter. This is a small one, and it's going to be replaced with this. You can see a big difference. The problem is if you try to put this on the intake, it's going to be too loose. Even using a clamp, you're not going to be able to clamp it tight enough to prevent a leak. So what we're going to have to do, which I've done before, is we're going to have to insert this hose into here and then insert it back to the canister filter. It's that simple. And I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, all I've done is with a pair of cutters, I've cut the old tubing and I've inserted about 1 inch into the hose. This is going to be over the stainless steel part of the intake, the bend of the intake. So now, since this has been done, put a little bit of Vaseline on here, slip it on, put a clamp on, you're done. That's how we will do the intake. Okay, the first thing I did was add the original hose, because this is a smaller part here, added the original hose onto here to increase this diameter, the OD, to 5/8. Now, this 5/8, put a little Vaseline on it, will go over it, and it will become clamped. That's it. So, this small part, yes, it is going to be the restricted part, but still, you're going to have all that bigger holes, the bigger ID hose on here, where you're not going to get all that friction. And that's one thing you want to do, because that little part, that's not very much, and the top, as you can see, is the same way. We're going to do the same thing. We need to get the 5/8 hose onto the top. We will do the same thing as we did here. We'll just add a little piece of the hose onto it, and then from there we will add the bigger hose to fit over that. Quite simple. Okay, so basically that's what we're looking at. The 5/8 hose is going over, because the hose I'm using has a 5/8 OD, and the hose that it's bigger has a 5/8 ID. And as you see, it fits over real nice. If you have a little bit of trouble, heat the hose up under some hot water, and that should do it for you. Now all it needs is a clamp and the quick disconnect. Okay, so now the clamp is on. And of course we have our Eheim quick disconnect. I'm going to do a review of another quick disconnect that's a lot cheaper than these Eheims. I paid $30 for them. And so far I use them on the goldfish aquarium, the breeder aquarium. They're black. And so far I have to say, no leaks. They're working just fine. They're about, I think, $30 a pair, versus one of these are like almost $30 a piece. But anyhow, I'll do a review on those, but I want to use them quite a while to make sure they don't leak, or I'm not having a problem with them before I do a review on them. Anyhow, that's what it looks like. Now we have a 5/8 going in. Yes, this is reduced, but this is very small of a reduction, because you're going to have pressure now of water being forced into the canister with a bigger ID. So you should get more output, because the pump is capable of pumping a lot more output than what we have. And you know what? In one way, maybe you may want to set it up this way at the very beginning, only because it's a DC pump and it has the capability of being turned down if it's going too fast for your aquarium, and then you can turn it back up. Okay, for the top of the canister here, we have the same problem. This is what came off of it. This nice flexible hose came off of here. But the problem is, look at the difference between the two holes. In fact, this is so much larger that this will fit inside of it. So what we have to do now is put a hose on there that will fit this, and this will go to the pump. Now, in order to do it, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab a piece of hose, we're going to cut it, we're going to put it on here, like this. We're going to put this on here and then slip the 5/8 on there and then heat up the 5/8 to go around here. And that will be our next project to connect up the pump. Now, this is the reason why people go with the smaller fittings. This is the 5/8 hose. Look how nice it fits over there, like a glove. Fits real nice. But how do you get this 5/8 over something this big? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to heat up this tubing. I have a hot gun, and then you stretch it out with a pair of needle nose pliers or something to expand it and to slip it over here and then clamp it down. And that's how we're going to get this over this. I've done it before. It works fine. In fact, I had to do it to the breeder tank. Same thing. So you can see why people will just use the smaller inlet and outlet. And then they don't get the gallons per hour that they thought they should, because they should have been using the bigger one. When you heat up the hose, only heat up the part of the hose that you want to become soft. Don't heat up the whole entire hose. In case you have never done this before, I use the needle nose to stretch it and then heat up the bottom of the hose. I put a little Vaseline on the black part. Heat it up a little bit more to make it soft and pliable. And I'm going to push it on a little bit better. So don't heat up the top of the hose, just the part that you want to push on to the black part. Okay, so there you go. It's pushed on just by heating it up, a little bit of Vaseline on the black part. Look at that. So it does fit. So it may be a little intimidating at first, and you're thinking that, how am I going to do this? But with the needle nose to stretch it out in hot water. Now, if I try to put this on here, look at this. See this? So I'm going to have to do the same thing as I did to the bottom. I'll put a smaller piece of tubing on, then this with a little Vaseline, slip it on and clamp it, and you're done. Okay? So don't be intimidated just because the opening is bigger than the hose. You can always stretch the hose out, and it works just fine if you do it the way I said. In case you've never done it before and feel intimidated by it, it's really quite easy. It only takes a few minutes to do, and you'll be a lot happier with it. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's completely done. You got the small, larger 5/8. 5/8 is over this, no problem. It's nice and tight. And the pump sitting where it's supposed to be. Now all we have to do is take care of this hose that goes to the aquarium and replace all the aquarium hoses with the new Eheim fittings. Okay, so here we are. We're completely done. We managed to get the hose over here to 5/8, all 5/8. 5/8 connectors are 16 millimeters. In case some of you don't know, it's the same as this. 16 by 22 millimeters. This is an Eheim hose, so you can use Eheim hose. This I just bought, same thing. This is food grade hose, so it's not going to pollute the tank. Bought it off the Amazon. It's a lot cheaper than 10 foot of it. It's a lot cheaper. I think it's $12 for 10 foot. It's not that expensive. Anyhow, that's what it looks like. It's all done. And now we have to switch over the intake and outtake at the aquarium side with the bigger Eheim 5/8 diameter inlet and outlets, and we're done with our modification. So here it is under the tank with the 5/8. It's running silent. No leaks. And I can tell from the intake tube okay, here we are with the Eheim 16 millimeter fittings, and it is working a lot better and stronger, picking up the fish waste that's in the aquarium. And that's it for this video. And I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy fish keeping.